Velthar had seen many species beg for acceptance into the Galactic Council. Some came with pride, others came with threats. The humans came with nothing but hope in their eyes and outdated ships barely holding together. He stood at the observation deck of the Council station, watching Earth's delegation arrive. Their vessel looked like a mining ship someone had converted into a passenger transport. The hull showed patches and repairs. The engines sputtered. Velthar's mandibles clicked in amusement. These creatures had only discovered faster-than-light travel 5 years ago. They were infants playing in a universe of giants. The Karathi Empire had existed for 12,000 years. Velthar himself had served as a diplomat for 3 centuries. He had negotiated with warrior races who could crush planets. He had dined with species so ancient they remembered when his people still lived in caves. And now he was assigned to evaluate whether humanity deserved a seat at the table. The airlock opened. 3 humans stepped out. The first was a man named Jae Kwon. He wore a simple black suit that looked cheap compared to the flowing robes of other ambassadors. His hair was dark and neat. His face showed middle age, perhaps 50 years by human standards. But his eyes were different. They were calm and calculating, like someone playing a game only he understood. Behind him walked Dr. Bo Kim, a physicist according to the files. She was younger, maybe 30, with her hair pulled back in a tight style. She carried a data pad and kept glancing at everything with obvious curiosity. She seemed nervous. The third was Commander Hyun Park, a military advisor. He was older than Jay, with gray in his hair and scars on his hands. He walked like a soldier, straight and alert. Unlike Bo, he did not look around with curiosity. He watched everyone with the focused attention of a predator. Velthar approached them with his arms spread in the traditional Karathi greeting. "Welcome to the Council Station. I am Velthar of the Karathi Empire. I will be your primary contact during the evaluation period." Jay bowed his head, a human gesture of respect. "Thank you, Ambassador Velthar. We are honored to be here. Earth has dreamed of this moment since we first looked at the stars and wondered if we were alone." The words were good, humble, appropriate. Velthar led them through the station, explaining the various zones and facilities. The Council station was massive, home to representatives from 2,800 species. It orbited a neutral world called Praxis 7, chosen because no empire claimed it. During the tour, Velthar explained the requirements for council membership, technology sharing, trade agreements, military cooperation if requested, cultural exchange programs. The list was long and demanding. Jay listened carefully and nodded at each point. "We understand. Earth is willing to share what little we have. We know we are far behind the rest of you. We hope to learn and grow." "What can Earth offer?" Velthar asked. It was the key question. The Council did not accept members who brought nothing of value. Bo stepped forward. "We have diverse biology. Earth supports millions of species. Our genetic databases might interest your medical researchers. We also have art, music, and literature spanning thousands of years. Cultural exchange could be valuable." Velthar made a note on his datapad. It was weak, but acceptable. Many primitive species joined as client states, offering minor resources in exchange for protection and technology. Humanity would likely follow that path. The formal evaluation began the next day. Velthar sat across from the human delegation in a conference room. 15 other council members joined via hologram. They asked questions about Earth's government, resources, military capability, and intentions. Jay answered each question with practiced ease. "Earth has a unified government now. We spent most of our history divided into competing nations, but first contact changed us. We realized we needed to speak with one voice to the galaxy. Our military is small, perhaps 500 ships, mostly converted civilian vessels. We have no interest in conquest or expansion beyond what we need to support our growing population. One of the council members, a crystalline being from the Shen Collective, asked about population. How many humans exist? Approximately 12 billion on Earth and our colonies, Jay replied. We have established settlements on 4 worlds so far, all within our home system. Velthar found this reasonable. Most species expanded slowly at first. What surprised him came later in the session when Jay made his specific requests. We would like to establish embassies on 12 worlds, Jay said, projecting a star map. 12 locations lit up in red. These locations would help us maintain communication with Earth and facilitate trade routes. Velthar studied the map. Something felt wrong. All 12 worlds were on the outer rim, far from major trade routes. They were backwater colonies, barely developed. Why would humans want embassies there? These are unusual choices, Velthar said carefully. Might I suggest locations closer to the Council core worlds? You would have better access to trade and cultural exchange. Jay smiled. We appreciate the suggestion, but we prefer to start small. These worlds are quieter. It would help us adjust to galactic society without overwhelming our people. Is there a problem with our choices? Velthar looked at the other council members. None seemed concerned. The locations were so worthless that nobody cared if humans wanted them. No problem. If the council approves your membership, you may establish embassies wherever you wish. The evaluation continued for 3 more days. Velthar interviewed each human delegation member separately. Bo was enthusiastic about everything, asking endless questions about alien physics and technology. She seemed genuinely excited to learn. Hyun spoke less. When asked about Earth's military, he gave brief, precise answers. We have defensive capabilities. Nothing impressive by galactic standards. Our ships are slow and our weapons are simple kinetic projectiles. We pose no threat to anyone. Velthar believed him. The scans of human vessels confirmed it. Primitive fusion engines, simple missile systems, no energy shields, no advanced sensors. They were centuries behind the Council's military technology. On the final day, the Council voted. Velthar cast his vote in favor of accepting humanity as a provisional member. They seemed harmless enough, and the Karathi Empire could use another client state. The vote passed easily. Jay shook Velthar's hand, another human gesture. His grip was firm. Thank you, Ambassador. You will not regret this decision. Earth will be a good friend to the Council. I am certain you will, Velthar replied. Welcome to galactic civilization. The human delegation prepared to leave. Velthar walked with them to their ship, making polite conversation about future cooperation. As they reached the airlock, he heard Bo whisper something to Jay in their language, Korean. Velthar's translator implant caught the words. Phase 1 complete. They suspect nothing. Velthar stopped walking. He turned to look at the humans, but they were already boarding their ship. Jay glanced back and smiled before the airlock closed. Phase 1? Suspect nothing? Velthar stood there for a long moment watching the human ship detach and begin its slow journey back to Earth. A cold feeling settled in his chest. Something was wrong. He could feel it. But what could 3 humans in a barely functional ship possibly hide? What was Phase 1? He shook his head and walked away. He was overthinking this. Humans were primitive and weak. They had nothing to hide because they had nothing at all. Still, he made a note to monitor human activity in the coming months. Just to be safe. The cold feeling did not go away. 3 months passed. Velthar tried to forget his suspicions about the humans. He had other responsibilities. The Karathi Empire needed him to negotiate trade agreements and settle disputes between member species. Humanity seemed to fade into the background of galactic affairs. Then the reports started coming in. Human traders appeared in systems far from Earth. They had no registered flight plans. Their ships moved through space faster than their outdated technology should allow. When questioned, they always had simple explanations. Mining surveys, cultural research, trade route exploration. Everything sounded innocent. But the pattern bothered Velthar. Humans were showing up in too many places at once. Their small fleet of 500 ships could not possibly cover so much space, unless they had more ships than they admitted. Then came reports from the 12 embassy worlds. Construction on every site was massive, far too large for simple embassies. When council inspectors asked questions, humans smiled and said they were building cultural centers and research facilities. The inspectors found nothing obviously wrong, so they left. Velthar's instincts screamed at him. Something was happening. Something big. The final warning came from Karathi intelligence. Humans had established a colony on Therax IV, a world the Karathi had abandoned decades ago. The planet was worthless. Toxic atmosphere, harsh radiation, no valuable minerals. Why would humans waste resources on such a place? Velthar decided to investigate personally. He boarded his private ship and set course for Therax IV without telling the humans he was coming. If they had nothing to hide, an unannounced inspection would not be a problem. The journey took 6 days. When Velthar's ship dropped out of faster-than-light travel near Therax IV, his sensors immediately went crazy. The planet was not dead. It was thriving. Orbital platforms surrounded the world. Ships moved between the surface and space in organized patterns. The atmosphere showed signs of active terraforming. Velthar's computer counted the signatures of at least 50,000 humans on the surface. 50,000. In 3 months. On a world that should be impossible to colonize. Velthar requested permission to land. The response came quickly, spoken by a pleasant female voice. "Welcome, Ambassador Velthar. Governor Na Choi is expecting you. Landing coordinates are being transmitted now." Expecting him? How did they know he was coming? He landed at a large spaceport carved into the side of a mountain. The facility looked new but professionally built. Human workers moved cargo containers with efficient precision. Automated systems handled most of the heavy labor. Everything looked organized and purposeful. Governor Na Choi waited at the landing pad. She was a woman in her 40s with sharp eyes and a welcoming smile. She wore practical work clothes rather than formal diplomatic attire. "Ambassador Velthar, what a pleasant surprise. Welcome to Therax IV, or as we call it, New Haven." Velthar descended from his ship. The air was breathable now, though still thin. "Governor Na, I was not aware my visit was expected." "We monitor all traffic in the system," she said simply. "Standard security procedures. Please let me show you around." She led him through the colony. Velthar saw residential blocks housing thousands of families, medical facilities, schools, entertainment centers. The colony was not temporary. It was permanent and growing. "How did you build all this in 3 months?" Velthar asked. Na smiled. "Humans are good at building quickly when we need to. We brought prefabricated structures and assembly robots. Most of the heavy work is automated. We also had help from our other colonies." "Other colonies? I was told Earth had only 4 settlements, all in your home system." "Oh, those are our major population centers. We have smaller outposts scattered around. Research stations, mining operations, that sort of thing. Nothing significant." Velthar's suspicion grew stronger. Nothing about this colony was insignificant. He asked to see the industrial sector. Na hesitated for just a moment before agreeing. The factories were enormous. Velthar saw production lines manufacturing everything from food synthesizers to construction equipment. The technology was more advanced than what humans had shown the Council. Not cutting-edge by galactic standards, but far better than the primitive systems on their delegation ship. "Impressive." Velthar said carefully. This technology seems quite advanced for a species so new to space travel. Na's smile never wavered. We're fast learners. The Council has been very generous in sharing basic schematics through the trade databases. We simply adapted them to our needs. It was a reasonable explanation. But Velthar's translator implant detected the slight stress in her voice. She was lying, or at least not telling the complete truth. That evening, Na invited Velthar to dinner at her residence. They ate human food, which Velthar found surprisingly pleasant. They talked about Earth's culture and history. Na was charming and informative. She answered all his questions with apparent honesty. But Velthar noticed small details. The guards outside her residence carried weapons that looked too advanced. The communication devices on every table had encryption he did not recognize. The windows were not glass, but something stronger, maybe military-grade transparent armor. After dinner, Velthar returned to his ship. He immediately deployed spy drones, tiny devices no larger than insects, programmed to avoid detection and gather intelligence. He sent them into the colony's restricted areas. What they found made Velthar's blood run cold. Deep underground, hidden beneath the civilian colony, were military facilities. Massive ones. Weapons foundries producing devices Velthar did not recognize. Training facilities for thousands of soldiers. And shipyards. Enormous shipyards building vessels of a design he had never seen before. The ships were sleek and aggressive, covered in armor plating and bristling with weapon ports. They looked nothing like the clumsy mining vessels humans had shown the Council. These were warships. Real warships. And there were dozens of them in various stages of construction. Velthar tried to transmit this evidence back to Karathi intelligence. His communications were blocked. A jamming field covered the entire system. He was cut off. A knock came at his ship's airlock. Velthar opened it cautiously. Governor Na stood outside, still smiling. She held a tray with a steaming cup. "I thought you might like some tea," she said. "It's a human drink, very soothing." Velthar stared at her. "You're jamming my communications." "Yes." She walked past him into his ship without asking permission. "You saw too much, Ambassador. Those little drones of yours are clever, but we've been tracking them since you deployed them. We built this colony knowing eventually someone would investigate. We prepared for it." "This is an act of war," Velthar said, his voice hard. "Hiding military installations, building secret fleets, lying to the Council." Na set the tea down on his console. "Is it? We're on our own colony. We're not threatening anyone. We're simply building the infrastructure we need to survive. The Council never asked how many colonies we had or what we built on them. We never lied. We just didn't volunteer information. The Council will destroy you for this." Na's smile faded. "Maybe, but I don't think so. You see, Ambassador, you're not a prisoner. You're a witness. Something is about to happen. Something that will show the galaxy exactly what humans are capable of. And you're going to watch." She pulled out a small device and projected a holographic star map. 3 systems lit up in red. "These are our colonies on the border with Talvesh space. 6 hours ago, the Talvesh hegemony declared war on us. They're demanding we surrender these colonies within 48 hours or they'll exterminate every human living there." Velthar knew the Talvesh. They were one of the galaxy's major military powers. They had conquered 47 civilizations. Their fleets numbered in the thousands. They were brutal and efficient. "You cannot win against them," Velthar said quietly. "You should surrender. The Council can negotiate for your people's safety." Na picked up her tea and took a sip. "We're not going to surrender, Ambassador. We're going to teach the Talvesh a lesson, and we're going to do it in exactly 48 hours. I suggest you watch closely. Count every hour. By the time it's over, you'll understand what humanity really is." She walked to the airlock, then paused. "The tea is chamomile. Drink it. You're going to need to stay calm for what comes next." She left. Velthar stood alone in his ship, staring at the holographic map. 48 hours until the Talvesh deadline. 48 hours until humanity either surrendered or died, or something else entirely. He sat down and began counting the hours. Hour 1 began with a broadcast that reached every corner of the galaxy. Velthar watched from his ship on Therax 4 as a human appeared on every major communication channel. The man wore a military uniform, dark blue with silver insignia. His face was weathered and hard. His eyes held no mercy. "I am Admiral Tae Song, commander of the Earth Defense Fleet. 3 hours ago, the Talvesh hegemony declared war on humanity and demanded our surrender. They have given us 48 hours to comply." He paused. The silence stretched. "Our response is simple." Tae spoke 3 words in perfect Talvesh language. Velthar's translator provided the meaning, "You chose extinction." The broadcast ended. The galaxy held its breath. Governor Na appeared in Velthar's ship again. She brought food and water. "The show is about to begin. You might want to sit down." She activated the holographic display. It showed tactical feeds from the 3 threatened colonies. Velthar saw human civilians being evacuated into underground shelters, children crying, parents rushing, fear everywhere. Then the Talvesh fleets arrived. Hour 3. 1,200 warships dropped out of faster-than-light travel above the first colony world. Velthar knew these ships. Talvesh battlecruisers were 2 kilometers long, armed with plasma cannons that could melt through any shield. Their fighters numbered in the thousands. They had destroyed entire civilizations with fleets smaller than this. The Talvesh commander broadcast his demand: surrender immediately or face complete destruction. The humans' response came from the planet's surface. Defense platforms that Velthar had not seen on any previous scans suddenly activated. They rose from hidden positions, their weapons already charging. The first volley hit the Talvesh fleet like a hammer. Velthar watched in shock as crystallized antimatter slugs, accelerated to near-light speed, tore through Talvesh shields as if they did not exist. Each impact created a miniature nova. 20 battlecruisers simply ceased to exist in the first 10 seconds. The Talvesh returned fire. Plasma beams that could melt mountains struck the defense platforms. But the platforms had shields Velthar did not recognize. The plasma dispersed across invisible barriers, causing no damage. "What kind of shields are those?" Velthar asked. Na smiled. "Layered electromagnetic fields with gravitational dampening. We've been working on them for 30 years. The Talvesh plasma weapons are impressive, but they're predictable. We built defenses specifically to counter them." Hour 6 brought a new horror. Human ships appeared from nowhere. One moment, the space around the colony was empty. The next, 50 warships materialized as if they had never been hidden. Cloaking technology. The galaxy considered it impossible. The energy requirements were too high. The computational power needed was beyond any known system. Humans had it, and they used it perfectly. The human frigates were smaller than Talvesh battlecruisers, maybe 1/3 the size, but they moved like predators. Fast, agile, deadly. Each one targeted a Talvesh ship and struck with focused precision. Their weapons fired beams of concentrated energy that punched through armor and shields alike. Velthar watched a single human frigate take down 3 battlecruisers in less than 2 minutes. The Talvesh tried to respond, but their ships were too slow, too predictable. The humans had studied them, learned their tactics, exploited every weakness. Hour 12. The Talvesh sent reinforcements to all 3 colonies. 3,000 more ships. Their admiral was furious, screaming orders about human treachery. He demanded immediate orbital bombardment of all 3 worlds. The human response came from a man named Captain Wu Han. His ship, called the Righteous Fury, was smaller than the others, but Velthar saw it move with purpose toward the largest Talvesh vessel in the second colony system. "That's a suicide run," Velthar said. "He's going to ram them." "Watch," Na said quietly. The Righteous Fury accelerated directly at the Talvesh flagship. Defensive fire from 100 guns converged on it. The human ship's shields flickered but held. Then, at the last moment before impact, something impossible happened. The ship phased. It became translucent. It passed through the Talvesh flagship's shields as if they were not there. It passed through the hull itself. And then, deep inside the enemy vessel, it solidified again. The explosion was catastrophic. The Talvesh flagship tore itself apart from the inside. Secondary explosions rippled through its structure. In 30 seconds, the largest warship in the Talvesh fleet was debris. Velthar stared in disbelief. "Phase technology? That's theoretical. The mathematics alone—" "We're very good at mathematics," Na said. "Captain Wu survived, by the way. The ship has an emergency teleportation system. He's already back with the fleet." Hour 18. The Talvesh were retreating at 2 of the colonies. They had lost over half their ships. Their casualties were in the hundreds of thousands. But at the 3rd colony, they brought out their ancient weapons. World breakers. Ships the size of moons, built in a forgotten age, capable of cracking planets with seismic charges. Velthar felt fear grip his chest. If the Talvesh used those weapons, millions of humans would die. The colony world would be destroyed. "You need to evacuate," he said. "Now! Those ships can destroy everything." Na shook her head. "We know. We're not evacuating. We're fighting." A fleet of human warships surrounded the world breakers. Velthar counted over 200 vessels. They attacked from all sides, but the ancient ship's defenses were too strong. Weapons that destroyed battle cruisers barely scratched these monsters. Then a new ship appeared, larger than any human vessel Velthar had seen. The designation came across the tactical feed: Earth Defense Ship Indomitable. Commander, Major Dayun. The Indomitable fired a single weapon, a beam of purple energy that seemed to bend space itself. It struck the lead world breaker. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the massive ship began to vibrate. Its structure became unstable. Reality itself seemed to reject its existence. The world breaker collapsed inward, folding into a point of impossible density before exploding outward in a sphere of pure energy. The other 2 world breakers tried to retreat, but more human ships appeared. They fired the same purple beams. Same result. In 10 minutes, all 3 world breakers were destroyed. Hour 24. The Talvesh High Command sent a surrender offer. They would retreat immediately. They would pay reparations. They would never thread human space again. "Please, just stop the killing." Admiral Tay's response was broadcast across all channels. "We're not accepting your surrender. You wanted war. You demanded we submit or die. Now you'll learn what human war really looks like when we stop being civilized." Hour 36. Human fleets appeared at every Talvesh military installation within 30 light-years of Earth. Shipyards, weapons platforms, training facilities, supply depots, entire fleets stationed at home bases. The humans destroyed them all. They did not accept surrender. They did not take prisoners. They systematically eliminated every military asset the Talvesh had in the region. Velthar watched in growing horror. This was not war. This was extermination. The humans fought with cold efficiency. No emotion, no hesitation, just absolute, total destruction. Hour 42. The Talvesh homeworld's orbital defenses, built over centuries and considered impregnable, were reduced to debris in 18 minutes. Human Marines, led by Major Dayun herself, landed on the planet's surface. They did not attack civilians. They went directly to the High Command building. The broadcast showed human soldiers planting a flag on the Talvesh capital. The message was clear. Humanity could have taken everything, could have conquered the entire Talvesh hegemony if they wanted. Hour 48. Admiral Tay appeared again on all channels. His face was as hard as before. The Talvesh hegemony declared war on humanity. They learned what that means. But we're not conquerors. We're not monsters. We wanted peace. We would have been your friends, your allies, your trading partners. You chose violence instead. Remember this. Humanity never forgets. We never forgive a first strike. But we're not here to enslave you. The human fleets began withdrawing. They left the Talvesh broken but alive, weakened but not destroyed, humiliated but not enslaved. Velthar sat in his ship, unable to speak. He had watched 48 hours of warfare that redefined what combat meant. The Talvesh had been one of the galaxy's strongest military powers. Humanity had destroyed them without mercy. Nay stood beside him. Now you understand. This wasn't our fury, Ambassador. This was our restraint. We held back. We could have killed every Talvesh in the galaxy. We chose not to. Because despite everything, we remember what it means to be civilized. Velthar looked at her. What are you? She met his eyes. Survivors. We're survivors who learned a long time ago that the universe doesn't care about weakness. So we made ourselves strong. Strong enough that no one would ever make us victims again. The cold feeling in Velthar's chest had become permanent terror, because he understood the horrifying truth. Humanity had not revealed their full strength. This demonstration, this destruction of a galactic superpower was just a warning, just a sample of what they could really do. The Galactic Council met in emergency session 3 days after the war ended. Velthar stood before them, still shaking from what he had witnessed. 2,000 species watched through holograms as he delivered his report. Humanity is not what we believed, Velthar began. Their technology is decades ahead of what they showed us. Their military is vast and sophisticated. They have weapons we cannot defend against. They destroyed the Talvesh hegemony in 48 hours. Chaos erupted. Council members shouted questions. How is this possible? Where did humans get such technology? Why did they hide it? Were they planning to attack others? Velthar had no answers. Not yet. But he needed them. The galaxy needed them. He requested permission to travel to Earth and demand the truth. The Council agreed immediately. They wanted answers. They wanted to know if humanity was a threat to everyone or just to those who attacked them first. The journey to Earth took 12 days. Velthar arrived unannounced. He did not ask for permission. He simply transmitted a message to Earth's government. I demand to speak with someone who will tell me the truth. All of it. No more lies. The response came from Dr. Sung Lee, head of Earth's historical archives. She was an elderly woman with gray hair and tired eyes. Her message was simple. Come to Seoul. I will show you everything. Velthar landed in Earth's capital city. Seoul was beautiful, filled with tall buildings and green spaces. Humans walked the streets peacefully. Children played in parks. Nothing suggested a civilization capable of such violence. Dr. Sung met him at a government building. She wore simple clothes and leaned on a walking stick. She looked fragile. But her eyes held the same calculating intelligence Velthar had seen in Ambassador J. Welcome to Earth, Ambassador Velthar. I know you have questions. I will answer all of them. But first, I need to show you something we never meant for aliens to see. She led him through the building and down. They descended in an elevator for several minutes. Down past the city's foundation, down into bedrock, down into a place that felt like a tomb. The elevator doors opened into a massive underground facility. Lights activated automatically, revealing a museum, but not a normal museum. This place displayed weapons, thousands of them, weapons from throughout human history. Dr. Sung walked slowly through the exhibits. Humanity has existed for approximately 200,000 years. We have been civilized for roughly 12,000. And we have been at war for every single one of those years. She stopped before a display of ancient swords. These are from our early history. Simple metal blades designed to cut human flesh. We killed millions with weapons like these, wars over land, over resources, over religion, over pride. They moved to the next section, guns, rifles, cannons. Then we discovered gunpowder, chemical propellants that could launch metal at high speeds. We became much better at killing each other. Wars that once killed thousands now killed hundreds of thousands. More exhibits, bombs, missiles, tanks, aircraft. We industrialized warfare, made it efficient, made it massive. We had 2 global wars in the 20th century. The second one killed 70 million humans. That's just one war, one conflict among many. Velthar stared at the weapons. "Why are you showing me this?" "Because you need to understand what we are," Dr. Sung said quietly. "We didn't develop war for you. We've been perfecting it for 10,000 years, on each other." She led him to a sealed chamber, heavy security doors, warning signs. She entered a code and the doors opened. Inside was a simple metal sphere on a pedestal. "Do you know what this is?" she asked. Velthar scanned it. His device screamed warnings. "Nuclear weapon, fission-based, extremely primitive by galactic standards." "We invented these in 1945, Dr. Sung said. "Before we left our planet, before we even had computers. We built weapons that could destroy entire cities in an instant, and we used them, twice, on our own people, to end a war." She showed him footage, cities burning, mushrooms, clouds rising, bodies everywhere, the death toll in the hundreds of thousands from just 2 bombs. "We knew these weapons could destroy civilization. We built them anyway. By the 1960s, we had enough nuclear weapons to kill every human on Earth 10 times over. We pointed them at each other and waited to see who would fire first." "But you survived," Velthar said. "You did not destroy yourselves." "Barely." Dr. Sung moved to another display. "We came close, 6 times. 6 different moments when nuclear war almost started by accident or miscommunication. We survived by luck, pure luck." She showed him more weapons, chemical agents, biological plagues, genetic viruses. "We created diseases that could kill millions, poisons that could devastate entire regions. We tested them, used them, on each other." The tour continued. Velthar saw the history of human violence laid out in painful detail. Every weapon, every war, every atrocity. Billions dead over thousands of years. Finally, they reached the last chamber. It showed recent history. "This is from 73 years ago, our last global war, World War III. The footage was horrific. Orbital strikes, cities burning, genetic plagues spreading across continents, the oceans boiling from nuclear detonations, 3 billion dead in 5 years. Human civilization collapsed, nations dissolved. Most technology was destroyed. Velthar felt sick. "How did you survive this?" "We almost didn't," Dr. Sung said. Her voice broke slightly. "We came so close to extinction. But humans are stubborn. We rebuilt. It took 50 years, but we rebuilt. And we made a choice, a sacred choice. Never again would we be divided. Never again would we be weak." She showed him what came after. The unification of Earth, the single government, the focus on technology and defense. "When we discovered we weren't alone in the universe, we knew the truth immediately. Either we would be strong enough to defend ourselves, or we would be conquered. We had 25 years between discovering you existed and making first contact. We spent every single day of those 25 years preparing." "The embassies," Velthar said, understanding. "The colonies. All of it was military preparation. Every embassy is a forward military base. Every colony has hidden shipyards and weapons facilities. Every trade mission was a spy operation. We entered galactic society weak and humble because we wanted you to underestimate us. We wanted time to build our defenses. To prepare for the day, someone attacked us. The Talvesh. Dr. Sung nodded. We knew someone would. The galaxy is full of aggressive species. We hoped we'd have more time. But when the Talvesh declared war, we were ready. We showed them what humans are capable of when we fight seriously. Velthar asked the question that terrified him. What I saw against the Talvesh, the 48-hour war, that was your full military strength? Dr. Sung looked at him with sad eyes. That was 12% of our active fleet. The rest are still hidden, still waiting. We have weapons we pray we never have to use, technologies that would horrify you. We've had fusion weapons since before we left our planet. We've been planning for alien invasion since we first looked at the stars and realized we might not be alone. She pulled up a star chart. Red dots marked human military installations. There were hundreds, thousands, spread across the entire region of space. Every one of these is a military facility. Shipyards, weapons platforms, research stations. We've been building for 73 years. We entered the Council 5 years ago. We've been members for 3 months. And in that time, we've built more military infrastructure than most species build in centuries. Why? Velthar asked. Why so much? Why so aggressive? Dr. Sung turned to him. Because we know what happens to weak civilizations. We've studied galactic history. The Talvesh conquered 47 species. The Karathi Empire absorbed 32. The Vryn Collective exterminated 11. The strong survive. The weak are destroyed or enslaved. We will never be weak again. She led him out of the museum, back to the surface, back to Seoul's peaceful streets. Children still played, people still laughed. But now Velthar saw the truth beneath it. We don't want war, Dr. Sung said as they stood in the sunlight. We hate war. We know its cost better than any species in the galaxy. Every human family has ancestors who died in war. Every human carries the trauma of our violent past. We want peace, desperately. But we will never trust our survival to the mercy of others. Velthar looked at the city, at the happy humans living their lives. And he understood the horrible truth. These people, these seemingly peaceful creatures, were the most dangerous species in the galaxy. Not because they loved violence, but because they understood it completely. What happens now? He asked. Dr. Sung smiled sadly. Now you report back to the Council. You tell them what you learned. You help them decide whether humanity should be destroyed, contained, or accepted. Whatever they choose, we'll be ready. We're always ready. Velthar left Earth that day carrying a weight he would never lose. The knowledge of what humanity really was, what they were capable of, what they were prepared to do. The galaxy would never be the same. The emergency session of the Galactic Council was the largest gathering in 300 years. Every species sent representatives. Every empire demanded answers. The chamber that normally held 2,000 delegates now held over 5,000. They all wanted to know one thing: what should be done about humanity? Velthar stood before them and delivered his report. He told them everything: the hidden military installations, the advanced technology, the secret fleets, the weapons that could phase through shields or destabilize matter itself. And most importantly, Earth's violent history. 10,000 years of warfare, billions dead. A species that nearly destroyed itself 6 times and survived through sheer determination. The chamber erupted in chaos when he finished. They lied to us, shouted a representative from the Vryn Collective. They deceived the Council. This is grounds for immediate military action. They're too dangerous to exist, another voice called out. We should quarantine their space, blockade them, prevent them from spreading. A third voice, This one from a small species called the Myrene spoke quietly. They destroyed the Talvesh in 48 hours. The Talvesh had a 1,000-ship fleet. If we attack humanity, how many of us will die? The chamber fell silent at that question. The council split into 3 factions over the following days. The largest group wanted to contain humanity, build a military perimeter around their space, restrict their expansion, keep them isolated until they could be properly controlled. The second group wanted to destroy them, launch a preemptive strike with the combined might of all council species, exterminate humanity before they became an even greater threat. The smallest group, mostly consisting of minor species and peaceful civilizations, argued for acceptance. Humanity had only attacked in self-defense. They had not conquered the Talvesh. They had shown restraint. Perhaps they could be trusted. On the 7th day of debate, Ambassador J. Kwan arrived at the council station. He came alone, without guards or weapons. He walked into the chamber and stood at the center, surrounded by thousands of aliens who feared and hated his species. He looked different now. The humble ambassador who had begged for acceptance was gone. In his place stood a man who carried himself with absolute confidence. He wore a simple suit, but Velthar noticed the subtle differences. Better material, military grade, probably armored. "You want to know what we are," Jay began. His voice carried through the chamber without amplification. "You want to understand why we hid our strength, why we prepared for war while asking for peace. I'll tell you." He activated a holographic display. Earth appeared, rotating slowly. "This is our home, a small blue world orbiting an average star. We evolved here, learned to walk here, built our first civilizations here, and nearly destroyed ourselves here 6 times. Images flashed across the display. Human wars throughout history, weapons of increasing horror. Cities burning, oceans poisoned. The final global war that killed 3 billion. "We're survivors," Jay continued. "We're a species that climbed out of our own ashes 6 times and kept reaching for the stars. We didn't develop our technology because of you. We developed it in spite of ourselves. Every weapon we carry was designed to kill another human. Every strategy we know was learned in blood against enemies who knew us better than you ever will." A council member from the Vrin Collective stood. "You admit to deception. You admit to building secret armies. Why should we not destroy you now?" Jay's expression did not change. "Because you'll lose, all of you. Even if you win, the cost will be the collapse of galactic civilization. We've run the numbers. We know your fleet strengths, your industrial capacity, your strategic resource dependencies. A war between humanity and the Council would last 30 years and kill trillions. Both sides would collapse. And then some other species, one waiting in the dark, would sweep in and claim everything." Another voice called out, "You threaten us?" "No," Jay said firmly. "I'm offering you facts. We don't want war. We hate war. We know its cost better than anyone. But we will never surrender. We will never be helpless. If you force us to fight, we'll fight with everything we have. And yes, we'll lose eventually, but we'll take most of you with us." The chamber erupted again. Accusations of terrorism, demands for Jay's arrest, calls for immediate military action. Then a new voice cut through the chaos. "Silence." Fleet Admiral Mi-On appeared via hologram. She wore the dark blue uniform of Earth's military. Her face was stern and unforgiving. Behind her, Velthar could see a military command center, screens showing tactical displays, officers working at stations. This was not a diplomatic transmission. This was a military one. "I am Fleet Admiral Mi-On, Supreme Commander of Earth's Defense Forces. I'm here to clarify our position. We have complete strategic intelligence on 2,844 Council species. We know your fleet positions, your shipyard capacities, your resource dependencies, your political structures, your military protocols. She paused to let that sink in. We have had special operations teams in position on 70% of your homeworlds since the second week of our council membership. We have infiltrated your governments, your militaries, your intelligence services. We've done this not because we want to use it, but because we refuse to be vulnerable. Velthar felt cold fear grip him. They had been everywhere, watching, learning, preparing. Me continued. We're offering you a choice. You can accept us as equals, and we'll share our technology, help strengthen your defenses, become your allies against external threats. Or you can attack us, and we'll show you why humanity has survived 10,000 years of warfare against ourselves. We're very good at war. The best, maybe. But that doesn't mean we love it. She leaned forward. Ask the Talvesh what happens when you attack humanity. We destroyed their military in 48 hours. We could have taken their homeworld. We could have enslaved their entire civilization. We didn't, because we're not conquerors. We're defenders. Attack us and we'll destroy you. Leave us alone and we'll be the best allies you ever had. The transmission ended. Silence filled the chamber. Every delegate sat frozen, processing what they had just heard. Humanity had not just hidden military strength. They had infiltrated the entire galaxy. Velthar knew he had to speak. He stood slowly. I have seen humanity's fury. I watched them destroy the Talvesh hegemony. I have visited their museums and learned their history. I have spoken with their leaders and studied their culture. And I understand something that most of you do not. Every eye in the chamber turned to him. They're not bluffing. They're not exaggerating. They have the capability to do everything they claim. But more importantly, they have the restraint not to. The Talvesh attacked 3 human colonies. Humanity could have responded by exterminating the entire Talvesh species. They didn't. They broke their military and left them alive. That's not the action of a species that loves war. That's the action of a species that understands war's true cost. A Karathi council member spoke. You defend them? After they deceived us all? I defend reality, Velthar said. We have 3 options. First, we try to contain them. This will fail. They're already too widespread. Second, we attack them. This will destroy us. Even if we win, the cost will end galactic civilization. Third, we accept them as equals. This is the only option that doesn't end in catastrophe. The debate raged for 3 more days. Velthar spoke again and again, arguing for acceptance. Slowly, others joined him. Species who had studied the tactical reports, who understood the mathematics of a war with humanity, who realized the truth. Finally, the vote came. 2,847 species voted. The result was narrow but decisive. Humanity would be granted full council membership, not because they were trusted, not because they were liked, but because the alternative was unthinkable. Jay remained expressionless when the result was announced. He simply bowed his head in thanks and left the chamber. That evening, Velthar found him on the observation deck. Jay stood alone, looking at the stars. Velthar approached cautiously. You won, Velthar said. Jay shook his head. Nobody won. We all just avoided losing. The council accepted us because destroying us would cost too much. That's not friendship. That's deterrence. What happens now? Jay poured 2 glasses of soju, a Korean alcohol. He handed one to Velthar. Now we wait. We watch. We hope the galaxy learns that humanity makes better friends than enemies. We continue building our defenses. We continue preparing for threats. We never stop, because the moment we become weak, someone will try to destroy us. Velthar drank. The alcohol burned. I saw what you did to the Talvesh. Was that really 12% of your fleet? Yes. What would happen if you used all of it? Jay looked at him. Nothing good. We have weapons we pray we never have to use. Technologies that would crack worlds. Devices that could destabilize stars. We built them because we know how, because we refuse to be unprepared, but using them would make us monsters. We'd rather die than become that. They stood in silence for a long moment. Finally, Velthar asked the question that had haunted him since this began. Why did you choose me? Why let me see everything? You could have killed me on Therax 4, hidden the evidence. Jay smiled slightly. Because we needed a witness, someone respected, someone who would tell the truth. You're known as fair and honest. When you spoke in the council, they listened. We gambled that you would see what we really are. Not just warriors, but survivors trying to protect ourselves in a dangerous galaxy. And if I had called for your destruction, then we would have fought, and billions would have died. I'm glad it didn't come to that. Velthar finished his drink. I saw humanity unleash its fury. It shattered everything I knew about warfare, about civilization, about the balance of galactic power. The galaxy will never be the same. No, Jay agreed. It won't. But maybe that's not a bad thing. Maybe the galaxy needed to learn that strength and restraint can coexist, that the most dangerous species can also be the most peaceful if you give them the choice. Velthar left the observation deck that night carrying a strange feeling. It was not fear anymore. It was something else, respect, understanding, maybe even hope. Humanity had proven they could destroy. Now they had the chance to prove they could create, build, cooperate, become something more than just warriors. Time would tell which path they chose. But Velthar would be watching, bearing witness, remembering the day he saw humanity's true face. And somehow, despite everything, he believed they would choose wisely. The fury was always there, waiting beneath the surface. But so was the restraint, so was the wisdom, so was the desperate desire for peace that only came from truly understanding war. That was what made humanity both terrifying and hopeful. They knew what they were capable of, and they chose, every single day, not to become monsters. Velthar hoped that choice would last forever, but he knew, deep in his hearts, that humanity would be ready if it didn't. They were always ready. That was what made them human.